do it for you.
Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours. Let me show you how prove the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
Now it's my turn to tell you.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome back to the E&M podcast. This is investment tips number 6. As you know, me, myself, Terrence Williams, the Superman of real estate, my man G Flex, the producer, the activist, my girl Ashley, the credit goddess. Y'all already know what she about. She fixing them bodies out there, so y'all watch out now. But we got a very special guest tonight. Man, very interesting background. This cat came, he was in our comments deep, but I'm talking about he handling us questions. So I like, who is this man? I gotta get to know him. Like he bringing a lot of gems to the game. So man, we had to bring him on. Mr. Kenneth Williams, y'all. He's an investor. Man, so many things. Mr. Kenneth, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, man, because I can go on and on about you, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, man, and then we'll get into the show. So go ahead, man. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Indeed. Wonderful greetings to each and every one of you guys. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here today to share with those that may, take something away, but more importantly, those that are using this information to gain progress in their growth. Ultimately, me, myself, I'm a vet. I served in the Army. I did my 8-year commitment, joined over into the National Guard, did my deployments, all of that good stuff or whatever. Got into real estate when I actually moved over to the contracting sector when we had, was making different kind of money at that time or whatever, and got into the real estate push far as investing in actual solid investments as we seen the turn of the market in the 07, 08 window, if you will. But ultimately, first and foremost, I must say I'm a child of God, raised in a pastoral upbringing or whatnot. So those elements that I had there, I apply in my everyday so that I can gain, as I grow, and even more so share with others. But what we quite often see is people listen, but no one actually does the work and put forth the action piece to gain those things that it is that they want. That's me.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Man, that's an awesome introduction, man. Hey, man, the part that you say about, what I'm saying, because I feel like I'm not a religious person, man, but I can tell you this, man. I believe in God to the fullest. I don't put no label on nothing. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not Christian. I just believe, man. I just believe because I know through some of the trials and things I've been through myself that, when I do prayer and stuff like that, I just believe, man. And that's all I can tell folks. I'm not going to, bash nobody for what they do. Everybody know what they do. So we ain't no need to even discussing that. But man, I still think, man, you have a very interesting background, man, and just respect, man. Big up to you, man, for what you do, man, and just how you move, man. I respect that to the fullest, man.
To God be the glory.
Yes, sir. Totally, I'm totally with it, and I'm pretty sure everybody else on the cast is too. But man, I just want to get into some of the things you're into. Like, man, I know when we spoke. Man, you had such an interesting background, bro. Like you was flowing so hard with it. Man, I was writing down. I got what my pad is. I wrote down a lot of stuff, man, that you was telling me, man, and some of the things that we discussed about, some of things from trust to, how you was doing your investments, on some of the things, how you had it. What was the thing that you told me about? You was doing was it liens or tax?
Yeah.
So
Tax liens, yeah. The other side of it, y'all spoke on it last week, far as that
mhm,
redemption process.
right.
Uh, you know, Even if the property sale for certain states, there's a redemption window. I can still reach out to that owner and purchase that. I can do a contract with them for 500. At the end of the day, they have lost this property. So for them to get 500, they'll take that willingly, and then I can go in and redeem it. Of course, it's a numbers aspect, but then you also have the overage side of it at the same time. If those numbers are too high for redemption, then I can go in and buy out the owner's position to go in and get that, claim that overage. And just to, break down the overage itself, as it was described last week, when it goes to tax sale, they have a dollar amount that they need to get. Anything over that amount creates an overage.
Mm,
And 9 times out of 10, when you see those tax deed sales, the owner is no longer in the house. Now that county is required by law to send out a letter to say, hey, you have excess funds, that's available for you. And you have to go through the process of claiming it. But again, they're only going to send it to the last address that's on record. So I can go in, make a contract with that owner to buy out that position. And it's important that you buy it out, especially for the state of Texas, because the state of Texas has what's called a finder's fee, right?
mm,
And I can only claim a percentage. But if I buy the position, now I can go in and claim as the owner of this property, which I can walk away with a 30, 40, $50,000, depending on, again, that's the numbers,
mhm.
depending on those numbers or whatnot.
Hey, and just to be sure for our audience, so one that's on, so they know what we're talking about. We're talking about purchasing an investment home that's has a tax lien. The county or whatever the local municipality is taking possession of it, and now they're trying to dispose of it. And this is you're talking about how to go and jockey for position to get that property. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. The flip side to the tax after the sale is over, this is the other way of making money in real estate.
After the tax sale. Gotcha.
Man, that is. I didn't even know that, bro. Like you just gave. Hey, if did nobody pick that up, man. I mean, that was some game. That was a play for you, man. Um,
Absolutely.
and Kenna, I know you
Yeah.
told me how long you been doing this, bro. Like with these liens.
So, like I said, I got into the real estate portion in '07, '08, around the end of, that the market
The
hitting its
crash.
most first,
Yep.
so on and so forth. At that time, I was in the Atlanta market, because you was getting $300,000 houses, at 110, 120 or whatnot. And I was, I went in the process of the fix and flip mentality. But as I already knew credit, but as I've grown in the process in those steps, I understood that, like, if I fix and flip this, one, I have no asset to take back. So my business owns nothing, right? We made a little money on the front end, but we own nothing, right? True ownership creates lending relationships, right? So
Mhm.
instead of going in and flipping it and getting 60K or whatever, the return is on the front end, instead, I can go in and refi or cash out of it, get that same 60K off of my credit alone. So now I am not paying taxes on that
Mhm.
sale. So those capital gains, I'm not looking in the sense of how I'm going to use this money. I already got access to that money by refining it. And then I put a tenant in there and, cash flow it in that process.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, man. So let me ask you: is there an instance where you, now that you've been in the game for a minute, is there an instance where you would flip and sell instead of holding it on and add it to your portfolio?
No, for me, no. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, you can refi a property, but if I build a portfolio, understanding the lending process, to go and get a personal loan, you're going to need X, Y, and Z documents. There's more documentation that is required for a person going to get a personal loan. But if I have a portfolio, if I'm going to lend or borrow against my portfolio for $1 to $4 million, requires less paperwork than it does for a personal loan. So if I can build a portfolio, I can use that for credit leverage as I move forward.
And the reason I asked that, because I got a friend, she has 7 to 8 properties, and she's been thinking about switching over into the commercial side or apartments and things of that nature. And she was thinking about taking those, liquidating them, getting that cash and investing in, you know, apartment buildings or some, you know, multifamily kind of deal.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I would tell her to take my advice would be do a portfolio line of credit, because when you move over into the commercial space in lending, it's every 5 years that you have to refinance or you're paying off that loan. Unlike residential, you can get that 30 or 40-year mortgage, 20 or 15, whatever, you know, appeals to the mind at that time. But in commercial, it's like a 5-year window. So if she does a portfolio line of credit or whatnot, based on all of those properties, she has cash power now to go in and purchase that commercial property, give or take, where she can take a deal that may be structured through a lender, but because she come with so much cash power, she can have that owner take a note back, where essentially it's owner financing.
Man, that's, you know what, that's now that right there, because you're taking that line of credit and it's basically collateralized, right? So they're using that, they're using your portfolio for collateral, basically.
Yeah.
And they're giving you whatever your portfolio is worth. And I've seen sometimes, just say for instance, if your portfolio is worth $1 million, sometimes off of that portfolio, they're forecasting that you can actually, the equity that's going to be built on that portfolio, they actually forecast that and give you more money off of that line of credit for what you're applying for. I've seen that happen. I said, man, this is an interesting space, real estate. And
it happens every day with the banks.
Yes.
You know, when a bank closes on a loan, essentially it's a note. You know, the way I teach my people as far as real estate, if you were to take a water bottle, I don't have a bottle with me now, but you have the plastic bottle itself, that bottle represents the house. Then you have that label that's on the outside of the bottle, whether it's a Coca-Cola, Aquafina, Fuji, you know, so on and so forth. That represents what's labeled in the county. And then you have the top, the lid, if you will, on the bottle, that represents your mortgage. If you occupy one of those 3 elements, you have an equitable interest into that property. So banks, keep in mind, they don't fix any toilets, they don't change out any windows, they're not laying any floors. They have an equitable interest by owning that note. So after they close that note, they can sell within the first 90 days, they can sell that note up to 118% of what the dollar amount of that note is. So it happens every day. Banks, big banks especially, they trade these, you know, every day, you know. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're absolutely right. The number one lender, and I'll shut up, you know, but
no, this is good. Keep going.
the number one lender right now that I've come across in my research is PenFed. PenFed is offering up to 90% loan to value on a portfolio. So just imagine if that 7 to 8 properties was $1 million or $2.5 million or X, Y, and Z at its lowest, as I said, $1 million. If you could touch 900K, she could literally walk in to an apartment complex. I know here I'm in Killeen, Central Texas, but you can buy maybe a 25-unit property for 500K. So just imagine she done took that cash that she got the line of credit with and snatched 2 properties that's now making 10K a month, just one property. So that's 20K a month that she has coming in. And plus she's cash flowing all of the 7 or 8 other properties. That power, that positioning, that growth.
Man, that is that's amazing.
When you get those funds of credit, are you just continuously flipping into more properties and continuously building that portfolio up?
Essentially, you know, it's based in the business. You know, I'm for building business credit, right? There's two aspects. Either you're going to build it in the financial space or you're going to build it in the vendor space, right? At the end of the day, you're continuing to build the business. So for myself, right, I have a corporation, and then I have the umbrella effect for all the LLCs or DBAs of the LLCs that I use, because I can pay insurance to my corporation that will filter down and cover all of my LLCs. So essentially, I can build lines of credit in each business where I can cap and touch millions of dollars based off of whichever type of lending that I'm using, which lender that I'm using, and based simply off the numbers. You know, I'm a firm believer that God speaks through numbers, right? Because there's only two things that I've come across in my lifetime that's universal. One is numbers. Two is when you hear the mechanism when a weapon cocks back, no matter wherever it is that you're in the world, you know what time it is. So those are the things that I know that are universal. So in that aspect, like, growth is beyond possible.
Yeah. So Angela, and I'll be jacking her name up, and we just had this discussion the other day, man. She says the Warren Buffett way. Would you agree with that? That's how he does business?
I couldn't disagree with Warren Buffett because he is the billionaire, right? He's at the top. But I will say, you know, we are resilience. We are people of resilience. So what he did could be, you know, it's tailored to him, right? My way may be different, but if it gets me to ultimately to my end goal, I just took a different path, but one that was more so structured to my divine purpose. The book that you showed at the end of the show last week, Dr. Miles Monroe, that book right there, it speaks on that divine purpose. So when you move in divine purpose, it matters not who's on your left or your right. It matters not who's in your industry. I'm moving as I am designed and given orders by God, right? So despite what is going on to my left and right, I can't move like them. And guess what? They certainly can't move like me. So I can't say, hey, the Warren Buffett is wrong. I can say it worked for him. But in my structure, in my path, you know what I'm saying, my orders come from, you know, the Most High.
So I got a question on the portfolio, right? Is there a limit? Like, do you want to try to not borrow? You said it's what, 90% of the loan to value, whatever that Penn Bank would do. Do you want to leave some of that more, you know, I don't know the right terminology, some more availability in the cash or the, I don't know.
Great question.
Value. Yeah.
In that, what I'm taking from PenFed is a line of credit. I'm not taking a loan, because as we understand, Albert Einstein says, hey, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. He who understands it receives it. Banks, lenders. He who doesn't pays it. Consumers, spenders, right? So if I take that line of credit, that 900K, I don't have to use it all at one time. You know, so she may want to use that 500K to go and, you know, actually she's going to pay less than that because she's a cash buyer, right? So she may use, you know, let's say 400K. They'll knock 100K off of it. She may use 400K, but she still have that remaining balance to do whatever it is that she wants to do in a line of credit. I never take loans unless I have to, right? But ultimately, it's that line of credit. And then when you take loans, you know, I say this in every one of the you guys' podcasts, that velocity banking aspect, how I can get out of my debt in an accelerated time frame so that I can come back and continue to move and structure, you know, as I continue to grow in trust.
Okay.
When you say velocity banking, what exactly do you mean?
Absolutely. This is my bread and butter. This is my winner here. You know, velocity banking is a strategy that, say for instance, you know, say you got a car loan. It's ideally set up for installment type of trade lines. And as we know, there's going to be two type of elements that's on your credit report: revolving credit or installments, right? So with that being said, you have what's called amortized credit that's being sent out, or interest rate, right? And then you have simple interest with revolving accounts. Why this is important? Because let's say I take out a $60,000 loan for a brand new whatever vehicle, right? 60K. They structured me over let's go to a bigger number, right? Let's do 200,000 on a house that I'm getting ready to purchase. I just signed in for a 30-year mortgage, right? My notes is, let's say, at 200,000 percentage. My note probably is going to be about $900 to $1,200 a month. We're going to say $1,200 a month, right? With that $1,200 I'm paying, but I can use what I call debt weapons, which is credit cards or revolving accounts. I can pull out a lump sum. Now you say, well, the credit card has a higher interest rate, but it's simple interest, meaning I'm only paying interest on what I'm using at its simplest form, right? I'll draw out a large amount and drop it over into that loan, which has just dropped what the balance is owed. Keep in mind, a loan is compound interest, and then we have simple interest. In my formula, I know ideally 70% of whatever my debt weapon or my credit card that I'm using, that's my threshold. And it doesn't have to be 70% for you guys. It can be 20, 30, this, that, and the other, whatever works. But my cap is 70%. So let's say I'm using a $10,000 card, 7,000 is my cap, right? So I've just pulled 7,000, let's say 6,000. I went to 60 and I left that 1,000 in there, right? I just pulled that 6,000, dropped it over onto this loan. All of my bills, my monthly expenses, I'm using my card anyway to pay all of those bills. Why? Because as I use my card, I get paid to use my card. So my cash that I make stays in the bank. I don't use debit card. The only time I use a debit card is a business debit card, so that those transactions can be counted when it comes to reconciliation with the CPA, right? Yeah. So now I'm using my card to pay those bills and getting paid, and I'm just repeating the structure. So ideally, if let's say my income is $5,000 a month, if it's 5,000 income and my expenses is $1,000 a month, give or take, right? I know what my thresholds are. So in that scenario, I know I got $4,000 free cash flow. So I can pay that $4,000 directly to that credit card. And in 2 months' time, in a 60-day window, guess what? I'm going to pull that 7 or that 6,000 again and pay it on the loan. And 2 months later, I'm going to come back and do the same thing. In a year's time, that's 6 months. That's 6 payments. 6 times 6 is what? 36? Mm-hmm. That's $36,000 that I just paid on this $200,000 loan. And it holds compound interest. So every one of those payments have dropped it drastically. Based in that structure, 36,000, let's see, times 3. Let me get that real quick. 36 times 3.
1990, what is that, 98? 108?
Bingo. That's 3 years. In 3 years, I just paid that dollar amount on this $200,000 loan. So I am in line and in structure that within 5 years max, I've paid my house off, right? And I did this all with Velocity Banking. And here's a sweet thing. My revolving account is still active, right? So I can still touch that money, this, that, and the other. The biggest purpose of Velocity Banking is to increase your cash flow of the cash that you're already getting, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of sending my money out to pay Paul, so on and so forth, now my money stays in and I can use my money to go and invest where I need to invest.
Ooh, that's good, bro.
Well, that was amazing.
So can you do this with anything, or this only work for a home?
No. Again, anything that is an installment type of account that's on your credit report, even if it's not on your credit report, right? Because we talked about owner financing, so on and so forth. With owner financing, I personally wouldn't do it because I got that structured deal, so on and so forth, right? Unless I go ahead and cash out of it, to get, access to cash, but I'm going to then use the velocity banking. But yeah, any type of account that is an installment account, a loan, specifically, whether it's a personal loan, whether it's a car loan, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's any type
Student
of,
loan.
this is it,
Yeah.
for as revolving accounts, I teach the snowball effect, and you work that process.
Yeah. Man, sound like we need a workshop.
Man, for real, man.
Oh, man.
Because I know those and I understand those methods, but I think that's something that has to be, it's got to be like concrete. People have to see that. You know what I'm saying? Because I've told people this, and they're like, man, they don't believe that stuff, and I'm telling you, it's like the compound interest thing, man. That is a killer. Like you said, the banks, and they, another thing with them, how they package these loans. So they package these loans, and G, I know you see this all the time. I know you're pretty aware of this. Kenneth, you is as well, how they package these loans. So they look at your history and everything, from how you pay your loans and all this. They package them with A, B, and C loans. So what you see is your pretty, kind of throwed off loans, right? And so those are when the investors come in and they want to do a high risk investment. They take those loans there, but it's a high risk, but the returns are a lot greater, right?
Yeah.
But that high risk could, you might get some defaults here and there. But then you take the real people, the people with good credit, and the people that pay their bills and stuff on time. Those are more like the A's and the B's that sit right in the middle. So these banks come in and they sell these packages off of A, B, and C loans, and whoever is willing to invest and buy these package loans, that's how they make their money. But it was just like you said, man, they making 118% off of your mortgage.
Yeah.
The God concept. If you look in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, right? Genesis 1:3-5. The first two words of each of those verses, 3, 4, and 5. 3 said God said, 4 says God saw, and 5 says God called. That is the element that you just broke down when you look into the bank. Velocity banking replaces your banks. It gives you that same power because, by the word, it says, hey, man, we are the ones that are to call, that are to move, that are to take that position, so on and so forth. My favorite book in the world, right, is the book of Proverbs. It teaches everything you need to understand, investors or just consumers, in the sense of the power of finances. Proverbs 17:28 speaks on money is wasted on fools, people that get money that don't have an understanding or don't have a plan or don't have a structure. They waste it. Proverbs 21:20 says a fool and his money are soon parted because they never had a plan. They never had a structure or whatever. So understanding, and again, this is my core. So I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but I can only, again, tell you what works for me in my move and in me walking in my divine purpose, and so that you understand where my structure is as I continue to push.
Man, I like the way you summed that up earlier too. I forgot to mention it, but it was so profound about how you did that comparison and contrast about it worked for you, but what works for you might not work for me. Even though Warren Buffett is a millionaire, that's his strategy.
Right.
But his strategy, is not, what I'm saying? Me or any one of us strategies, you know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like we have a different risk tolerance per se. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's just you have to figure out that risk tolerance that you have when it comes to investing, and that's what you're gonna pretty much invest in, whatever you can tolerate.
Right.
It's I don't know. It's kind of crazy, man.
It is.
I just know it's a lot of money out here, and it's a lot of what we have missed out on in this space. You know, when I
It
got
is.
in this real estate space, man,
Absolutely.
it was just amazing what I've seen and what I've got to see thus far. And I've been blessed, you
Yeah.
know, to be in this
We needed
space.
this
So,
pandemic. We
yeah,
needed this pandemic. You know,
yeah,
if anything that we learned, and this is again going back to business, if there's one thing that we learned in the midst of this pandemic or the start of this pandemic was government said, hey, we're going to offer PPP loans. We're going to offer all of these loans to businesses first, and then we'll come back and see about the people, right? It's a new day. Like if you're not moving in business structure, stand on the side. Let us get it. You understand what I'm saying?
right
And
on.
one thing I will tell people this, and I always tell people this, is don't be afraid to spend your money and invest your money on you, right?
Mhm.
Because the fastest way from point A to point B is what? A straight line.
Straight line.
If you are at point A and you're trying to get to point B, find a person that's at point B, pay them because you are investing into yourself to come along the process that much faster. So you can reap the benefits, you can reap the rewards, you can reap everything that it is that's for you because you were able to curve and cut that time. So stop playing with your dollars. You know, the government is giving them to them. Invest into yourself, right? Invest into your growth. I'm here for your growth.
Yep.
The first show that I got on, my comment was, hey, I'm here for your growth. And that's how I move. I have a conversation with you all day. Now, when you want to structure and so on and so forth, that's a whole totally different story. That's going to require that investment, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man,
Hey,
that's
this is
awesome.
kind of a question for you. So when you sound like the velocity banking strategy is allowing you to hold on to as much as your cash as possible.
Yeah.
So you sound like a real smart man. So what are you doing with the cash that you're holding on? You're not just letting it sit in the bank, are you? Are you investing it in other ventures, or not to get too much in your business, but
No, it's fine.
give people
I'm
ideas,
on board with it.
because there's a
Yeah.
reason you want to hold on to the cash, but letting it sit in the bank, in my mind, is not the best strategy to do with your money.
I agree with you. So yeah, it wasn't until the pandemic that I actually started dibbling and dabbling in the stocks. I do a little forex or whatever, so on and so forth. But the crypto, you know, it is opening up or whatever. But the cash that I have, there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with having a fat goose egg. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I can put it into, although it's, you know, way smaller returns, but I can put it into a CD or whatever, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I am looking to structure how can I keep my money instead of giving Uncle Sam, you know, so much money. And that's the power of moving in a trust.
All right, cool, good deal.
And you know that's that. Now that you say that about that, what people don't understand about, you know, when you have your money in banks as well, you know, it's only insured for up to a certain amount. The FDIC states that.
Yep.
So I was talking. It was funny because I was talking to a young man the other day. He's like, man, you know, I had $1 million in the bank. I'm like, yeah. I said, do you know how much you're insured? You know how much you're insured up to for that million? So if something, so for example, if something happens, and just say for instance, the banks get hacked or something, and you lose, oh no, they're gonna cover my money. I said, are you sure? I said, do you know what the FDIC covers you up to? And it was amazing because people put their money in there and don't even know this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a guy of that stature with that much money, and you don't even know that? Like,
250K.
man.
So
Yeah.
what do you do? You make sure you move it around in the different bank accounts, different banks.
Yes, absolutely. We seen that with Boosie. Boosie had got hit for like 3 or 4 million, I think it was. And when he went to the bank, they said, look, we can give you 250. And what people don't even read in the fine print is they will insure you up to 250,000 by law, but they got 30 years to pay you that 250,000.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And they're not finna velocity bank that. No, you can believe that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow,
But
man.
moving in a trust, you know, a living trust, a land trust, whatever type of trust that you have, revocable or irrevocable trust, it's essentially allows you to move. It doubles you, right? Because a trust can own anything in the world that a person can own except for a retirement account. So I have bank accounts that are in the name of my trust, just like you have trust fund babies, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. That same power, that same position. So now I can legally move money because I move in trust. I don't buy houses in my name. I buy houses in trust, right? Because you have the attorneys. We've all seen it, you know, the commercials that say, hey, you've been in an accident, call me, right? And when they call, you say, hey, this is the tag number, right? And then that attorney gets into the LexisNexis profile or the TransUnion profile or this, that, and the other, and they say, oh man, this guy owns 5, 6 properties. Why? Because they're all bought in his name. Oh, we know he's not going to sell. We're not going to settle for less than 50K. It's 50K you got to cough up. So you got to go touch some line of credit somewhere, or take a loan somewhere, or get garnishments out of your check somewhere along the line. But when you move in trust, you have Kenneth Williams, and then you have the trust, all of those elements. Even the vehicle itself is owned in trust.
So tell
So
me this.
basically, it's like an LLC. Like you, you know what I'm saying? You own it, but you don't own it.
The trust, you own the trust, but nobody
Well, you own the
sees.
trust, but they
Yeah.
can't get you. You see what I'm saying? They can't
Yeah,
take.
they can't get to you.
It's
It
a limited liability.
Yeah, it takes, you're going to have deep pockets to break through the veil of a trust. You're going to have to go through multiple court appearances in order for that trust, because that's what it is, a trust, to have to be cracked open and expose who owns certificates to this trust.
So a legal scheme, if you will.
It is a legal structure to move.
Structure, yes.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So tell me this, Kenneth, on the trust, because I know a little bit about them. How would you, so like you said, you have your entity, Kenneth, and then you have your trust, right? So how do you, because you're I guess you will be the sole proprietary of that trust, right? Or do you have, I know you can have several people on that trust, right? So who makes the decision, or you have to line that out in that trust? Who makes the decision on, okay, when I go buy a property over here, when I go property number, whatever, 4, 5, 6, who makes that decision? Do you have to go through all these people in that I guess that owns that trust to make that decision if we're going to put this property in that trust?
No, you have a trustee. That is the individual on record. And you have to have a trustworthy individual to be a trustee, because he has great power. You know, ultimately, at the end of the day, you have a great power. But far as the beneficiaries of it, or those that hold that certificate or whatever, that information is not public record. It's not put on the push. And if someone actually came in and said, trusts also help avoid taxes in probate. Yeah, in probate. And that is the main portion. That's why I move in trust, because when it's my time to go, when I'm called to be with my father, you know what I'm saying? My sons have nothing to worry about because it's in trust. They're automatically certificate holders because, you know, for as them, I set them up with Coverdell accounts, right? Which are IRAs, self-directed IRAs for each of them. You have the 529 savings account that you can use for a child to save towards their college. But when they get to school, they can't get access to student loans, this and the other, because they have a savings account. But if you have a self-directed Coverdell account, it doesn't affect them from going to get the student loans, right? So in their self-directed accounts, I can fund them, and those accounts, those IRAs can be investors into the real estate push. So now the property is bought in a trust, right? On the purchase agreement, it's going to be bought in a trust. Of this trust, I own a percentage, their IRA owns a percentage. So when rent comes in, according to what this structure is, that's where the payments go.
Good deal.
Wow.
Good info.
I like that one that Angie says about, because that was another thing. I know it's to avoid taxes when you put it in these trusts as well, right? So it
Absolutely.
kind of shelters them from that
Yeah.
that gains, that capital gains, whatever that tax is they hit you on with, and you can
Yeah.
kind of hide it through those trusts.
Just
Um,
what she said here, tax-free growth, man.
yep.
And I think, we hit those workshops with man Joshua, and he talks about taxes being our biggest liability out there. And if we get a good sound tax structure, man, that we're literally saving ourselves tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars
Of
a year.
dollars, yeah.
Man, that is huge. That's
That's
huge.
crazy, man.
I was listening to ESPN, and they was talking about Kawhi Leonard, why he should leave California, and they said based on his contract, the taxes that he would pay for that, the remainder of his contract was like $13 million that he would have to give up. Right, 13 million that he has to give for just being great at what it is that he do. Right, essentially.
Hey, man, so why we can't get the talent here in Texas at the Dallas Mavericks?
I think they want to get him in Dallas. But
Yeah.
you know,
That's huge, man. That's, man, all these strategies, man. We talk about the name of the show is Educate and Motivate. So, man, I think it's important to not only be educated, that's important, but to motivate people about it, man. And what motivates you, Kenneth, to just to be savvy in this arena right here.
what motivates me first, I'm a father, I'm a man, and naturally, you know, I walk in the sense of understanding that I must provide, right?
Mhm.
Not that I provide for today, but in my absence, when I am gone, right? That I have left that legacy position in place so that my sons will be able to eat off of this tree that I planted. My favorite scripture, one of my favorite scriptures is Ephesians 3:20. And it says, now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think,
Yeah.
according to the power that worketh in us. At the end of the day, wherever it is that you're at, right? Find your place to where you're trying to go, right? And start working within. That was my motivation. I am bound for greatness. Let me go out there and get it. And let me say this real quick. I went through a divorce and I lost the properties that I had, right? The access that I had. I went from doors, from windows, from toilets, from refrigerators, and all of those being plural, right? To being in a 4-door car, sleeping in the parking lot of Walmart. I didn't understand the powers of trust at that point in time, right? Although I lost the physical structures of those deals, in the divorce, so on and so forth, I still had the knowledge, right? And the Bible says my people perish from the lack of knowledge, right? I had the knowledge. And from there, I continue to push. It took me 37 days to get over the divorce in its own or whatever. But on that 38th day, I said, man, I can't grow no further if I sit and dwell in the mess that I was in, right? So I have to pick up and grow. That's what motivates me. My growth motivates me. Your growth motivates me. I'm only here for your growth.
Yeah, man, it's heavy, man, and I think it's important you talk about what a legacy is, and we can get so focused on the stuff part of the material, but you can't. I don't think it's appropriate to talk about legacy without thinking about the mental. Like you're teaching people, not just how to make money, but to do it in a way that preserves your dignity and the dignity of others. Right there. The thing is, I would love to see people progress, but not at the expense of others. So I think anybody can make money, but Josh, I refer back to him a lot. He has this workshop that he does. It's talked about how to reduce your tax strategy 50 to 70%. But at the end, it says legally, morally, and ethically. And he says, like, man, if you come here and want him to do some funny business, he don't care how much money he's gonna make. He don't want it. And I think, well, again, that's important to consider when you're talking about passing down legacies.
Yes.
It's not just the stuff. it's the mindset on how to build and foster meaningful, prosperous relationships. So, man, hats off to you, brother.
Oh, to God be the glory.
Yes, sir.
Hey man, we move in ice, man. Ice, integrity,
Yeah.
commitment, and excellence, bro.
I love it.
Oh,
Hey,
man, look.
I ain't
Integrity.
moving over. I ain't moving over way with that. We had a conversation with Angie today about that. You know what I'm saying? About, hey man, if we ain't dealing straight business, man, don't come with me with that half stuff, cause you get all of us messed up. You know what I'm saying? Just by
Right.
one wrong thing. We all know what that is to be, a part of something like that and bring everybody down. So
Yeah.
that ain't what we don't even want to nobody to even think that you can even come with something like that, because
Yeah.
we're straight legit about what we're doing, and we're trying to build people up, man, and
Yeah.
by the masses and get them to do these type of things. So
Amen, brother. Here's a question from Angelia, man, I'm gonna get it right the first time. Angelia, she said, I have young people in my family that have amassed savings. What would you suggest that they do with it if they have access to 20,000 or more in their bank account?
Absolutely. One, I'll move it to a money market account. If you got 20,000, let me go back. I would create a company, a business, right? And understand this, right? In banks have what's called business rating, how they rate companies or whatever. You must have a minimum of 10,000 in your bank account, regardless of whatever is coming in. At the end of that 30-day window, 10K needs to be sitting in that account for you to start building a business rating, right? So we create the company and we move this money over and allow it to sit. In that time, in that process, you have great minded, credit push driven individual, Miss Ashley, that can help build that process of building that credit up, that profile, because the number matters not. It is the data of the profile that matters, right? And then go in and start to get business credit, business lines of credit. Keep your personal clean as possible, right? Keep your personal clean as possible. Get that business. Now, you may have to PG out of your personal, but get that business line of credit. Take that 10 or 20 and turn it into 200,000 in a 6 to 8 month window, and then push from there.
that is that. So Kenneth, how would they take that 20 and make in? Because you said a six. I would say 6 months to a year, right? Which is probably right on with what you said. How? What would I know? You said in money market accounts. What's a quicker way to make that return in outside it? Because I know, like now, when I was in the closing today, we was talking. The closer was telling me about it was 2 clients in there that was doing on both sides, selling and buying. They was doing a 1031. They was exchanging money. We got to talking about those, and she was saying, like, we was talking about, with the new presidency and what's about to happen, what may happen to that 1031, which I think that's unfavorable, because that's kind of taking away the incentive to be an investor.
Mm-hmm. But you still have the opportunity zones that Trump opened up the opportunity for. You know what I'm saying, in that tax write-off positioning or whatnot. So the 1031, yeah, it can go away, but it kind of draws people now to that opportunity zones or whatever. Because at the end of the day, like we've been to, I say, from what I understand in real estate, we're going to see a shift in how lenders are going to lend coming out of this pandemic, this, that, and the other or whatnot. But at the end of the day, a lot of people may lose their houses because they're not credit worthy to refinance their house, right? Mm-hmm. So therefore, as we know, when these foreclosures and so on and so forth happens, rent rates go up, right? Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, real estate is always a solid. Matter of fact, real estate is the cornerstone of wealth. So own land, because that's your biggest tax write-off, right? I can buy a property all day long, right? Yeah, I can buy a property. And as long as my rental rates does not exceed what the value of the land is in the county all of that income that I done brought in is going to be written off on taxes.
So give us a run, because I don't think people understand what opportunity zones are.
Affordable housing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's affordable housing. It's not necessarily what, I don't know if they use something different, but they used to call them war zones, investing in war zones or whatnot. It's not so much investing into the bad neighborhoods or whatever, because as we see, that's gentrification, right? But creating affordable housing. So ideally, if I got the plot of land, I own the plot of land, and my brother comes in and builds on my land a duplex that creates affordable housing for individuals, because now rent rates are extremely high. Even if I provide housing for individuals that may be on some type of government assistance, this is your opportunity zone. So that opportunity of investing into properties that becomes affordable living, and you can never go wrong by having one that has those government assistance to live in your properties.
Yeah, that's man, we'll go all day, but I like what Angie says about, what do you think about this? She's saying they are listening and they believe Forex, crypto are better fits for you. Can you elaborate on that business account? I'm not in, so I'm gonna let y'all handle that Forex and that crypto stuff. My son is in that stuff deeply, and he's tried to get me into it. I don't know, man. Y'all elaborate on that, because I see he's making a lot of money, but it's so volatile to me that So I'm gonna let y'all touch that.
In all honesty, I think it's no volatile than running the stock market or whatever. And I think that in the sense of like it's another avenue. You know what I'm saying? I deal with Forex, as long as you study what you need to study, right? The Bible says, study to show thyself approved unto God. Word needeth not be shamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So I can't say, hey, if this is your truth, I can't knock it or whatever. I'm not as sound invested into it. Forex, I know, because banks been using this for centuries. That's why we have binary options, right? So in Forex, yeah, you can definitely make hand over fist in Forex or whatever. But it's only a risk. At the end of the day, check what your risk management is, right? So if you got Forex is foreign exchange. You're betting, where if it's binary options, you're betting in a time period whether this currency is going to go up or down. And in that time period, if you're up, you could walk away with the difference, or whatever. If it's down, you lose your bid or whatnot, or your call, if you will. But at the end of the day, like, those are they're no more than other tools in the tool bag to your success or your growth, for the most part, or whatever. It may not be something that may be for you and I, because I'm an 80s baby. You dig what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
But it is a reality in our everyday. People are making money. I read a story where a guy liquidated all of his freaking credit cards, right? He dropped like 40K into the crypto, and in a 6-month window, he was able to manage his monthly payment. But in a 6-month window, like, he went from an everyday worker, I forget what his job was, to a multimillionaire or whatever, right? Whether he cashed out this, that, and the other. And as we are seeing, like, some banks are allowing crypto to be used. There are crypto ATMs right now. You know what I'm saying? That's out pushing and moving or whatnot. So I can't knock it. I'm not into it as deep as, say these young people, but what I will encourage you guys to do is definitely stick with it, stick with the process, grow and understand what the risk is, so that you can, if you have to write out your risk management. I'm a firm believer of writing. I keep, a notebook with me so that I can write or whatever, right? I write these things out so that I can come back and teach or give classes to people, but even more so that my sons are sharper than I when it comes time for them to walk in their calling.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm just listening to you talk about the guy liquidated his credit cards. It made me think about when the lottery a couple years ago was up to almost $1 billion, and it's what NFL player, man, he went and dumped like $20,000 in tickets. Needless to say, he didn't win. So sounds like what you're saying to do is in the credit
Proverbs 17:28. Money is wasted on fools.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
and
But
he
yeah,
had to spend, you know, so be it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I could have took that 20K, you know, and I could have did some different things. I wasn't-
yeah. So she also says, can you elaborate on the business account?
On the business banking account, absolutely. One, knowing what you're solid, you know, me myself, I teach people, or I expect people, you know, I tell them all the time, man, I require excellence, because in excellence you can excel, right? So I prefer banking with credit unions because you can have that personal relationship with a banker or whatnot, right? And depending on whatever lender it is, understanding, you know, when you go in and have those conversations, one, I always ask, which credit bureau do you pull from? Which is your primary credit bureau? And, you know, they kind of shy away, and you let them know, look, I'm finna drop 20K into my business banking account. I don't need to play games, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Then they have the conversation. And the reason that is because banks are allowed to lend up to 10 times the money that they have in their vault. So that 20,000 becomes 200,000, right? So yeah, now that, oh yeah, well, we mainly pulled the TransUnion, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. So understanding what credit bureau they pull, they may or may not tell you or reveal to you ideally what they're looking for in the credit score, because again, the score really doesn't matter. It is the profile. But sitting and putting together a business plan, believe it or not, serves a purpose, but business plans changes daily. Very few businesses were ready for the pandemic, if I was to use an example.
That is good. That is good stuff.
Man, that, you know what, and this is what I say, because I've learned a lot within this year and starting the pandemic, right, about business credit. So everybody was saying, like, you know, it's hard to get into. You know, you got to do business. You can't do this. You can't do that. I don't know. Me, I guess I'm always going against the grain, because if you tell me there's not a way, I'll find it some kind of way, and it's gonna be legal. But
Absolutely.
I know there's always a way to do things. So, in one of the big banks, I won't even mention their name, but I went and got an account with, because I'm thinking I already, you know, bank with them, and I do business with them, and I dropped a significant amount of money in there, and they tell me I gotta wait 2 years, and I said, okay, I know that's you know, pretty standard. I said, but here's the deal, because this is what I know: conversation rule the nation.
Man,
Trump already proved that.
you're right.
So this is what I do know. I walked up in that bank and I told them this. I said, well, I know, you know, like you just mentioned about the vault and how much they come in and stuff like that. I said, I know I have money in here, and I'm insured up to so much, you know, on my money, right? And I said, let me be straight up with you, and I don't want to sound like, because I know you got more customers with more money than I have, but I am putting money in this bank, and I know you're utilizing that money that I have here. I said, so this is how this gonna go. If I can't, I'm gonna give y'all 6 months. If you can't come up with what I need, I'm gonna pull everything about this account, and I'll leave $1 in there and leave this account open, and I'll take my money elsewhere, and I'll do business with people who want to do business with me. That's how I'm cut. And if you're cut the same way, you understand what I'm saying. So now we can work together. Oh, Mr. Williams, don't. I said, no, because you have already told me you don't trust me, and I get what you're saying. Like, it's a risk. I said, but I'm taking a risk by putting my money in your bank. So we're all taking a risk. So who has more risk tolerance here? I believe it's me, because I got more chances of losing than you do.
Absolutely.
And so right after that, I was able to get a $20,000 credit card.
Yeah, with ease.
Yeah, you know, it's just your
With ease.
conversation with them, and that's what I tell people. When you go up in these, now you got to have your stuff together, but you got to let them know that you are valuable as well, because they're utilizing your funds every day, passing them around. So just know your power when you go up and talk to these banks. I don't care how major and big they are. They still need your money.
Absolutely.
And I think that's key is just again knowing your power and knowing that they are dependent on us to be able to continue to do business.
Yes.
Now, I think sometimes we sell ourselves too short, and a lot of it is just we just don't understand. So again, hey, shout out to E&M, the show right here for trying to educate people, let them know how powerful they are. So hey, let's stand and know people.
Man, and I'm telling you, man, with this, so I just want to throw out there too, Flex, that with this new podcast that we bringing on, the Greenwood podcast, it's pretty much a lot of stuff we've already touched on about, we just going back in the communities. We're trying to build this thing up. As you know, for those who don't know, what Greenwood is, it comes from, the Wall Street of the Black Wall Street of Tulsa, right? Where you had the community of Black folks together that was, very fortunate, had their own banking, stores, doctors, you name it, they had it there. And, it was all wiped away, by angry white mobsters, you know what I'm saying? And just, this is the stuff we kind of always had to deal with on that level. And to a sense, we still deal with it today. But this is what we're doing. We're bringing, communities together, showing them that, hey, you can come together and put your money to build something great.
Absolutely.
And understand that it's not impossible, it's possible, but we have to be in the same mindset while doing this. Because you know how one bad apple can ruin it for everybody? You have to recognize when you have those people in your bunch, and it's no disrespect to nobody, but we've come a long way, but we got a long way to go. Indeed. And if you're not ready to move, because that's what this podcast here is for. That's why it's called E&M, Educate and Motivate. Yeah, we can talk about this all day, but we're educating people. And that's why I bring people on like Kenneth. Man, because you just gave, man, a wealth of knowledge, man, that people charge for this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff that you just gave, man, people are charging big time for this stuff.
And I'm so very glad you said that. And this is the reason being, because I'm not here, to charge anything, but I did send the link out to different individuals that follow me, that rock with me or that grows with me. And if I could, I want to say to all of those individuals, I shared this podcast on my page, right? And my challenge to each and every one of you guys, I'm going to go back and update on my page. I'm going to put a link on there where I want you guys to invest. If what I've given each and every one of you guys was powerful enough to, really create something different in your mindset, I command you at this moment to invest into the growth of this podcast. Now, if you don't invest into the growth, it's not personal. It's always business. But if you want to continue to grow, just like Solomon, right? He had to invest. He had to lay down that sacrifice, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And then God came and visited him. So what I am challenging each and every one of you guys, whether you rock with me and know me before this podcast, or you are on this podcast right now, invest into this podcast. I'll put the link up. Hey, when y'all invest it, share it, this and the other. Hit me on the inbox. I got something special for you.
Man, hey man, and you know what, man, man, you've been such a blessing. We don't want to because I always say, man, it's a two-way street, right? Nothing is one way. If you have anything that we can invest in for something that you got going on, let us know. I mean, that we want to be a part of. We want to be a part of your growth factor as well. You know what I'm saying? Because we got, absolutely. Ashley here with, her like some of that stuff could be we're investing in for somebody that wants a consultation. Let me tell you, because I value people's time so much, man. I'm serious. I think I can say this by everybody on this podcast right here. We value people's time so much. It's so valuable to us. Ashley here, She charges $50 for a consultation. And people might say, oh man, that's crazy. I ain't gonna pay that. But you know what? That's how you weed out people that's not serious. Because if I pay $50 for something, you best believe I'm gonna be all on it, and I'm gonna make sure I'm in tune to what she's saying, and I'm taking notes, and I'm gonna take her serious. And she is the expert, so I'm going to, follow. I'm gonna let her lead, and I'm gonna follow, right? So this is what we're saying. Like for people who listen, we willing to invest into that. We willing to pay for somebody. We willing to invest $50 for you to get a paid consultation. If your credit right now, if your credit is not the best of credit, we don't want to call anybody out, but reach out to us. Whether you want to do it in the comments or privately, whatever. Reach out. We want to help you grow. We want to, because that's what this podcast is about. It's to educate and motivate. We want you to. We not only just educate you, but we want you to move on it. You can't you just can't take this information and sit on it because it's void. It's void if you do that.
He said faith without works is dead. So
Man,
you can't have faith that works. Like, man, I know this work. Okay, but you got to do the work. You got to make the phone call. You got to look your credit up. You got to check out those, you know what I'm saying, and see what the listings are. Move forward. Sorry, y'all. I'm
no.
About that. I am so serious about, everybody having a dream. Dr. King had a dream. We all got dreams. But what are you doing about that dream? Are you moving on your dream? How are you moving forward? Everybody say, I want better for my kids. Not just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Come on.
So that's good. So we're going to pay for two, not one. We're going to pay for two consultations with Ashley. So if you're out there listening, do us a favor. 1, like the page. 2, subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We're over on YouTube. Man, if you will, it's in your heart. Again, this is not a stipulation for you to get the prize, but share the page as well, because again, we all just lacking in knowledge some way. And I think that's the missing piece is someone connecting with us so that we can, just grow in understanding so we can begin to make those moves. So again, do those things for us. Hit us up on the inbox. If you're interested, the first 2 people that inbox us, we're going to go ahead and put you in contact with Ashley so you can get those 2 free, 2 people can get those paid credit consultations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
hey,
before that, T will put a plug in for Greenwood, the podcast. Our first airing on that is Sunday at 7 p.m. right here. Again, we're on Facebook and YouTube. We're trying to stand up a few other platforms too. But make sure y'all tune in. We got a video that I just want to share from a promo video for people that hadn't seen it. T Will sharp on here too, man. So you get to see this.
Come on, man. Hey, man. Flex, I'm telling you, bro. G for God, man. I say it all the time, bro. But hey, man, this is the brains behind everything we're doing, y'all. So I want y'all to know that I'm gonna give him his flowers right now, bro, in front of everybody, because when you got people like this around you, man, be appreciative of it, man. And man, we appreciate you, bro, for real.
Oh yeah, no lie. Greenwood, the podcast promo video. Check it out. Let me mute. Man, that video was so hot, man.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we got Angelia. Yes. Man, I did it again. Angelia. I know, man. Hey, we're gonna start calling her nickname, Lania. So we're gonna man, we got some great new personalities coming on to the podcast. Angelia and Alan and Roger Jackson, man. They both are a wealth of knowledge. And I'll tell
Awesome,
you, just in
man.
the few
Awesome.
weeks that I've been contacted in connection with Angelia, man, it's just amazing how she's pouring into me just with just understanding a lot of the business side, the mindset, what it takes to market and advertise and how to reach people, man. So she is absolutely what we needed on the podcast. So man, y'all gonna get a big dose of her Sunday evening at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, right here on the Floor Is Yours podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And man, we want to, man, Kenneth, man, thank you, man, for real, man. Thank you
To
for
God be the glory.
that wealth of knowledge. I don't know if everybody wrote that down as viewing, man, but if you did, you missed out on a lot of stuff. But that's all right because we bringing Kenneth back. We're gonna bring him back. He got an
Man,
assignment he has to take. He's gonna be gone for a minute, but he's coming back on the show, and we're gonna get together because this is very needed, right? You guys, this is, I'm telling you, man, I've seen a lot of things in this space, man. And when you have people like this in your presence to give you this wealth of knowledge, I mean, if you're not taking advantage, that's on you. So,
Indeed.
but Kenneth, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on, man, and sharing your wealth of
God be
knowledge,
the
bro.
glory.
thank you, brother.
To
Definitely.
God be the glory. Thank you guys for allowing me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're gonna take this thing out, but hey, y'all, for oh, you know what? Nah, I'll do. No, let's do it now. So, because I said it last time. So,
Yeah.
how we gonna do this, Flex?
Man,
I want you to say how we gonna do this, because somebody got to add this. This
Yeah.
is this book here. Oh my goodness! If you
Yeah.
read this and you don't get nothing out of this, man, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what
Hey
to
man,
tell you.
we always plug in. We tell people to share the show. So we're gonna go and find out who's watching, who's sharing the show, and I'm gonna pick somebody tomorrow, and we'll
Okay.
share it on the podcast page who gets that book. So
Okay.
if you haven't shared it, go ahead and share it. You got enough time. Share the show. We're gonna go through and see who all shared the show. We'll get Miss Ashley to draw a name, and whoever wins, hey, we'll get that book sent to you. It's good information, man. Also, again, do not forget the first two people to inboxes that want the free credit consultation. Do it. I'm gonna pick the first two names in, and we'll get you in contact with Miss Ashley so you can get your credit, footprint reviewed and see how we can point you towards greatness and excellence.
That's it, man. That's what we're doing right now, man. Hey, man, we talking on this show, but after this show, it's movement.
Oh yeah,
Indeed.
It's movement going on. So just believe that we moving around here. So if you're gonna be part of this movement, get on board. That's all we can tell you. We don't want to hear
we
this.
got room.
Indeed.
No, we don't want to hear all this. Hey man, that's too much. That's the past.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
past. If you want to stay back there, you're welcome to stay. But really, we don't want you there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We want to elevate you.
And the
We
strength
want to
in
elevate you.
numbers.
So that's right. The power of one. The power of one. So
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna leave it with that.
Yeah. Shout out to my cousin Corey King. Thanks for watching, brother.
Right on.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I
So,
wanted to also say, don't forget to everybody that Kenneth said to do what he said. Do.
what did he say? Do again?
He got something special for them peoples.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yep.
cool. All right.
So man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. And like I said, join us here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We coming with some new things. We get some things in line, ordered out, kind of lined out. So we're gonna make the show look better. When I say better, we're gonna come. We're looking at some more platforms and things of that nature. And
Yeah.
once we get those things updated, y'all will be the first to know. But we definitely won't leave you guys out because we appreciate you guys tuning in and joining.
No
us.
doubt.
But
Number love.
go ahead, Ash.
I just want to thank everybody that's been in the comments. Y'all keep coming with questions. We need that. We don't know what y'all thinking. We don't know what you don't know. So the more that y'all keep coming with the questions, we can continue coming with the information and knowledge, and help you gain clarity or whatever it is that you have questions about. We can actually get it out there, bring somebody on to answer your question if we ourselves don't have it. So everyone
Amen.
that's tuning in, the floor is yours. So thank you.
That's right. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. Well, man, again, Kenneth, we thank you, brother. Safe travels to you. Hey, we supposed to be getting together, right?
Tomorrow, I will
There
be
we go.
in
There
your
we
city.
go. All right, I'll make
Man,
it
do
sure,
not
y'all.
leave me out.
Hey,
Do not-
I send you the invite. I send you the invite, G. So we all
Sure.
gonna connect, man. So let's do that, bro. My cousin, my son listening, and they both say thank you all. It was a very informative, and now they're going to do what I told them to do and what you told them to do. Oh man, that's awesome. See, that's
It's
what I mean. That's what I mean right there.
Beautiful.
All it takes is one. The power
Yeah.
of one. Just remember that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
know you're gonna
Hey,
cry.
tell you, hey, and
For
Jamil, tell your family we said thanks for listening. We really
Yes.
appreciate them. Yeah.
Indeed.
Really appreciate
Follow us
it.
on YouTube if they're not on Facebook.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna let you take us on out. Thanks everybody for watching. Flex, take us on out, and we'll see y'all again next Wednesday at 7:00, same time, same place. Appreciate it.
The floor is yours. Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If we come down to the floor is yours. Let me show you how prove the floor is yours. 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 The floor, yeah, the floor is yours. Now it's my turn to tell you.
Signing off. Y'all have a good one.
Peace in the Middle East.